Since 2011, the Irish hip-hop scene has seen a substantial boost in popularity, with artists such as Versatile and Kojak becoming household names amongst their younger target demographic. And with the rise of popularity of their music, there has been a similar increase in music videos. In this study, the researchers analysed 10 separate music videos from the Irish hip-hop scene using visual discourse analysis in order to discover how cultural storytellers are using discursive constructive techniques within the music videos to create an image of masculinity with regards to social class. While the project will focus mainly on the visual analysis of the music videos, the researchers will also be analysing the lyrics of each song in an effort to establish a concrete classification of masculinity and class within the audio and visual medium. The 10 videos that were chosen for this study span from 2011 to 2019 and, due to the limitations within the genre, are condensed to urban locations. This means that we are taking the videos from the Irish cities of Dublin and, in what some might call a political stance, Belfast. When tackling the social constructs of class, it is important that we can define it. The definition that we will be using comes from Karl Marx, who argues that class is a way to categorise people as to whether they are exploited workers or those who own the means of production. This definition puts the factors of class separation as wealth, influence and status. Further examination into masculinity led us to an article by Anoop Nayak entitled Displaced Masculinities, Chavs, Youth and Class in a Post-Industrial City. In this article, Nayak talks about how cultural changes in society have affected young males and their interpretation of a masculine identity. In the new post-industrial world, the young working class male works in customer service roles such as table waiting, bar work or call centres. Nayak argues that these means of employment go against traditional ideals of masculinity and hence challenge the young men's identity, forcing them to act out certain behaviours in an effort to exaggerate their new masculine ideals. Taking the following insights from Nayak's work, the researchers were able to identify visual signals and themes that could be used to accurately analyse the content for depictions of masculinity and class. These themes fell under 3 categories. Consumption, which will focus on the separation factor of wealth, visually communicated by depictions of money and valuable assets such as jewellery, as well as the indulgence in drinking and drug culture, which Nayak argues that due to the new working class male's disdain for work, has become a way for young men to fill their leisure time. Violence. Where this theme also consists of alcohol and drug abuse, violence will take into account any visuals of criminal activity, including but not limited to drugs promotion, physical violence, imagery of weaponry, and references to gangland crime. Environment, meaning the locations which the music video is shot. Environmental factors of class will include the identification of landmarks and how they tie into the socio-economic geography of their relevant cities.
So, as Conor mentioned, the article touches on a few different indicators of social class, and one of the things it focuses on is the idea of overconsumption. So we can look at this overconsumption in terms of material goods. The article talks about people taking pride in their designer goods that they've usually gotten either from cheating the system or from criminal activity. There are a good few visual references in the music videos, but it's referenced in the lyrics too. The top is Hugo Boss, the jeans are Calvin Klein, new runners on my feet, and if I get these runners dirty, then I'm smashing someone's teeth. But I think more broadly speaking, you also see this overconsumption in relation to sex and drugs and alcohol too. So it sounds strange to think of sex as a form of consumption, but the way they talk about women, it's as though they're commodities. It's not about them as humans. Most of the time, they're rapping about what it feels like for them to fuck. The women themselves are irrelevant, and when they are mentioned, they're talked about as fat bitches, black bitches, and skanks. In Belfast Mentality, he raps about getting with a woman he doesn't find attractive, and he explains it away by saying, "My mother always said, a dog is for life." So when it comes to drugs and alcohol, the only rap out of the 10 that we looked at with no reference to drugs or alcohol is Wee Johnny. If we look at Versatile, they rap about joints and yokes and a party lifestyle in all their music. They have a full song dedicated to ketamine. Take a blow of this, take a blow of that, have a sniff of this, have a whack of that. Drinking culture and the binging of drugs and alcohol permeates their society, and even when it's not being celebrated, it's still being acknowledged. Nugget raps about how they tried to black it out by getting blinded by the drink. Hard-working, honest men are living life on the brink.
So I think another theme that you kind of see within all these videos is this theme of violence, but it's kind of violence for comedic value, or violence for for a sense of peer bonding. And I think where you see it particularly as a sense of comedic value is Versatile's Ketamine, where he talks about punching the grandmother and taking her by the hair and pushing her down the stairs. It is still funny in that sense, but it's still violence at the end of the day. And I think you also see that same type of comedic violence within Weegoos's Belfast Mentality, where he talks about being robbed, and if he finds that guy, he will murder him. It's that idea of mixing humor with violence, and it works or it doesn't work. It's kind of up to the spectator. Now, violence as a sense of peer bonding is something that you see in Ink's video called Bad Intentions, where he talks about how his gang is better than everyone else's gang. Your gang doesn't do this, your gang doesn't do that. And I think that in Ink's video, he really puts on this persona of the gangster reputation, where he says, I'm known all around these streets, and it's something that's really prominent within all that. But when you look at all these videos, you have to also remember that the artist is showing a little piece of their sense of reality. It's not necessarily a depiction on the actual way of life in these places.
You have this reoccurring theme throughout the music videos that there is this deeply held sense of belonging to a certain place. The rappers are inescapably connected to a particular suburb or region in Ireland, where the environment itself becomes a central motif in the visual display of working class identity. In most cases, this connection is firmly rooted in a world of council estates. Throughout the videos, these shabby, run-down, fragmented housing complexes are depicted as breeding grounds for violence, poverty and hopelessness, but also as a place for ritual and sanctuary, and as a space that needs to be continually fought over, for and protected. Everyday life in these videos is anchored in and articulated around these residences. Rappers refer to their turf as the estate, the flat, the street, the beat, the ghetto, or the fort. Interestingly, views of these properties are twofold. Either rappers lament the domestic circumstance that has perpetuated cycles of poverty and crime, as seen in The Human Condition, where Jambo says, "Now I see the truth instead of what I used to see. We're living in a place that promotes hate exclusively." Or they're seen as a haven away from the commercial pressures of the middle class. As lyrically expressed in Jensu's Born in Belfast, "I felt like I had something to prove because no one knew us. But now I got a residence on the beat so no one sues us." Whatever the case, lyrics across the range of these videos hold deep ecological content rooted in place. The geopolitics of environment also play a role in the construction of class, with each rapper aligning themselves to the values, history and cultural authority of a particular region. In the work of Versatile and Ink, Dublin suburbs like Dublin City, Ringsend, Finglas, Ballymun or Tilla are heralded as authentic communities that capture the contemporary working class anxiety, whereas suburbs like Santry, which to them appear morally superior and smug, are rebuked as ways of disassociating themselves from the middle class and their deeply held idealism. In addition to the suburban divide, rappers like Jansu and Wet Goose or take ownership over their social, cultural background at a regional level, where We Johnny, Belfast Mentality and Born in Belfast all offer a tribute to the working class hardships and anxiety exclusive to the Northern Irish diaspora. No matter exactly where, it is clear that the working class is inescapably attached to geography, and that there is a strong sense to defend yourself, define yourself, belong to a group that represents the place and history and culture therein. Hip-hop culture and media production provide an ideal cultural vehicle whereby social class is rendered visible through a discursively constructed economy of signs. As E.P. Thompson declares, class is a historical relation embodied in real people in a real context. Of enduring significance here is the importance of place, locality, and regional identity. In the videos, rappers anchor themselves to very specific suburbs, cities, and countries as geopolitical hotspots. Working class is a descriptive term. What Anoop Nayak calls spectacular masculinities have become a central motif for representing the male working class. Such acts of masculine excess, says R.W. Connell, form part of a body-reflexive practice of working class men which can be made visible and audible in music videos. These spectacular performances of masculinity, as heavily emphasized in our chosen context, is broadly associated with crime, violence, unemployment, and consumption.
The working classes in our chosen videos are discursively constructed and represented as a darkened underclass, bitter and resentful against a world that has neglected them.